Hey everybody, this is Travis. Final installment of 10 years, the remaking of an actual 20-year-old song. But where we left off was with the recording of vocals. The last bit here, I got busy with work and things and haven't had time to do another video. Also, it's a lot less interesting to have me go through mixing. So I decided to not do that part. I'll just kind of give you a verbal run through of what I did. Part of the reason being that you can find an awful lot of mixing tutorials on YouTube, and most of them are probably better than what I'm going to tell anybody. I would say mixing is something that is like an eternal work in progress for me. So, that's my caveat there. So what I wound up doing, I didn't have to actually make a whole lot of changes to the basic tracks. And I kind of went through what my prospective approaches were on each of those videos. So, drums, really, it kind of boiled down to EQ, and then I had a main bus that went to a reverb, so all the drums went through the same reverb, and I used that same reverb really for most everything else, just blending them in to certain degrees. And then bass guitar, I took that direct signal and lopped off a lot of the high mid-range and high end, left the low end, compressed it quite a bit, and ran it through an amp simulator. To add some crunch. Basically, it's just a Marshall amp simulator. I mixed that up underneath. The main bass sound is still that mic'd bass sound, which turned out being just fine, like planned for the core bass sound. That crunchier sound basically is to just once again, it kind of solidifies the low end a little bit without making it overbearing. And then it also, the crunch actually kind of pops it in with the guitars a little bit, so that it on small speakers or earbuds, that sort of thing, you can still have some bass content coming through. And because the bass line plays such a big role in this song, I really wanted to have that be a little bit more prominent. Guitars, I did just a tiny bit of EQing, just a little bit of a mid-range cut and a little bit of a treble boost, maybe 1 or 2 dB above like 4K. That was really about it on the guitars. There wasn't, and I didn't really wind up doing any editing on anything at all. And then vocals, there was compression. I compressed on the way in, just a 3-to-1 compression. I suppose I forget what my gain reduction was going in, but compressed the vocals, did a slight delay, like a 30 millisecond delay. 30-second delay would sound great. Just a fairly subtle one, and then ran the vocals to that same bus as the drums. Mixed them just pretty much as I was talking about in the vocal video. And so that kind of boils down to how I did the mixing. And then I listened to it. I have my little reference monitors here. Now, I haven't done any serious mixing since I did Echoes in the Dark. Since I did Echoes in the Dark, I'm in a different room in a different house. So there's a learning curve involved there. And I hadn't listened to enough through these speakers either. So I wanted to get another set of ears on this. So I got a hold of Craig Hollitz from Bassfuzz Mastering. And I asked him if he'd be willing to master the track for me, and he said he would gladly do so. And so we went ahead and did that. And so in preparation for that, I tried to get the mix as good as I could. But the first thing he asked me was, "Do you have a subwoofer?" And you kind of guess where things are going from that. And you're like, well, no, I don't actually have a subwoofer. And he said, well, he thought I did because there was some roll off on the low end, and I can tell you where that came from. Part of it is because I'm set up stupidly here for mixing. I should be further away from walls, that sort of thing. Now, one thing that you do a lot when you're mixing, or I do a lot anyway, I always sum to mono and do some mono checks when I'm EQing things and compressing things to make sure that I'm not having frequencies just pile up like in the low and the low mid range. So I was doing that, and I was doing that with the speaker on my right. And I'd get it to where it was sounding pretty good in mono, and then I'd go to stereo, and it would start to get boomy in the low end again. And so eventually I just rolled off. And it turns out it was this speaker over here that was doing it, and it's probably due to either the fact that it's not on a well-isolated stands or proximity to a wall, or could be just in the speaker itself too, and I'm just not as familiar with these speakers as I thought I was, or I was 2-3 years ago when I mixed Echoes in the Dark. So that's the first value in mastering right there is, aside from what they typically do with mastering, which obviously they're doing the EQ on stuff, they're doing final compression levels on things, they're getting it so it sounds good through different types of speakers, through earbuds, iPhone, putting it in different formats for you for different things, so you have something that is decent on Spotify, in case you want to put it on Spotify and make no money, or if you want to you got to get a dig on Spotify. You got to get a dig on Spotify. You do. I'll do a video about that later, my bone to pick with Spotify. But like, I should have a bone to pick with anybody. Nobody tries less than I do to make money making music. But anyway, so speaking of not making money making music, you can listen to the finished product. I have a link below. It's on Bandcamp. You can listen to it for free. I think I have for like 50 cents or something. So if you want to spend 50 cents, it's like you can't even get a can of pop for 50 cents anymore. Like, maybe you can get like store brand pop. You can get like Shasta or Elf pop or something. Do they still make Elf pop? I don't know. That was like a Red Owl thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. Check it out. See what you think. So yeah, big shout out to Craig Hollis from Bassfuzz Mastering. He did a bang up job, gave me the feedback that I needed. So now that I have that feedback from him, here's where the value add is there. It's not just making the track sound good, although that's a huge benefit, because having something that sounds professional is always better than having something that sounds like some crap I did in my basement, which is quite literally what it is. The other part is that now I have this reference so that I know, okay, I have the mixes. I have mixes that I did. I have the mix that he asked about. I have the mix that I did in response. I know where the problem was in the mix. I have his mastered copy. I can listen to all of these things and sort of reverse engineer from there to figure out, okay, well, what can I do to make this speaker not honk? Okay, do I need to get a little bit more baffling between that and the table? Do I need to move everything a little bit further out into the room? Do I need to do, whatever it is I need to do, I should do it, and then problem solved. Then next time around, I can have something that's a little bit closer to my desired result. So there is definite value in that. So if you're wondering, like, well, should I just, compress the crap out of it at home and do my little smiley face EQ? No, you should probably, if you want it to be really, really good, you need to get other ears on it. I mean, that's far and away the most important part of mastering, is getting experienced other ears on it. And part of the whole thing with this, whether it be you're mixing, you're recording, you're playing, you're singing, your lyrics, whatever it is, at a certain point, you just have to be able to listen to other opinions about it. And it's probably every other thing in life too. No one's good at this anymore, but like at a certain point, someone's going to say, that song is too slow, you should speed it up. That was actually my older brother about this song 20 years ago. Did I listen? No. Does it matter? Well, eventually I did. He was right. It was too slow. I listened to it now. I'm like, yeah, that was trudgy. It wasn't whatever. Someone else was like, okay, well, that's it's a good idea. It's too long. Did I listen to that 20 years ago? No. But eventually I was like, yep, no, that is definitely too long. The feedback is useful. Take it for what it's worth. It doesn't mean that everyone else is always right, or that you always need to be accommodating your vision or whatever for other people's opinions. But the truth of the matter is, especially if you're working by yourself, it is hard to get quality feedback when you're working in a vacuum. And you need something to base things against. You can't just sit there. I mean, we live in a culture where everyone, especially with music and musicians, where everyone thinks that there's some little grain of godlike genius living in their brain, and they're going to come out with some amazing thing. And it's mostly crap. You know it's not true. I mean, you screwed up making eggs this morning, and I don't know, whatever. But you know what it is. It's like there isn't some latent genius living in your brain where everything that you do in an artistic sense is going to be great. If that were the case, everyone who tried to do anything musical, artistic, or whatever else would be awesome out of the gate. And they'd never have a school for any of it. But that's the opposite of the truth. So if you're like me and you're, some self-taught hack, then you need to be willing to listen to some criticism, to listen to some other opinions, to just sort of take the best you can out of it, and work with it from there, and eventually get to where you're actually seeking it out. Doesn't necessarily mean everyone's opinion is valuable to you. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to be floating on the winds of people's opinions. It doesn't mean that you can't have a vision of your own, and it doesn't mean that you can't make things or do things on your own terms. What it means is that you can't only do that. Or, I guess you can. You can also just be massively unsuccessful and unsatisfied with what you're creating because it's substandard, even according to your own standards. My 2 cents. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Once again, the link below. Listen to it on Bandcamp, and you can say, Travis, you should have listened to a little more criticism because this really isn't that great. Which may be a valid point. We'll see. Hope you enjoy it, though. Like, subscribe. I'm actually going to do another video, probably release at about the same time as this. I'm starting a new video series not related to this song at all. This is now officially done. And moving on, I'm going to be doing a little something about working on a guitar. Look out for that one. And I'm going to put links to some other videos here. Hopefully they're of some value to you. And yeah, thanks. Bye.